Surprise, surprise, surprise. Welcome back to the Old Barn on Ann Street, coming to you from Shelburne, Nova Scotia. I'm out on my early morning walk on one of these beautiful trails here in Shelburne, but we want to show you today about one of the big surprises we found when renovating the house at the Old Barn on Ann Street. We weren't expecting it. It was a big thing and big surprise, but we got a lot of stuff to get to today, so let's get right to it. Welcome back. Today we're working on a whole different job. We're working on the kitchen, or where we're going to install the new kitchen for the front half of the house. We've done the layout, and today we were just pulling off some old paneling, some really thick board paneling, and for a couple reasons. One of them is that's the wall where a lot of the plumbing and the electrical is going to be behind the counter of the kitchen. So we're clearing that all out so we can do the electrical and the plumbing a lot better. It's also the wall that is between the two units of the house. So I'm going to put some insulation in there just to dampen the noise between the two units. But here I wanted to show you what happens. Some of the fun stuff of working with a house from the 1788, because sometimes there are some surprises. So let me show you what we found today. There's a fair bit of mold and rot in the corner of this room, which is the outside of the house. So right there, that's the wrap between the siding and the structure. So right now, this whole part, which is the corner part of the structure of this corner of the house, is all rotten out. So what we're going to have to do is take all this stuff out. This wood is still good. We're going to have to take out some of this wall and figure out what that's like. But it just kind of adds to the excitement of the day. So one more project for us to do. And so here we go. So here we are working on the wall. We're continuing to do some work in the clearing out the rot here, but that's work in progress. But I wanted to show you this too. Look at this piece of wood. All of the wood, this used to be the exterior wall, the original exterior wall of the house before they put the addition on. You can see, first of all, that there used to be a window right in here because you can see, where the window pieces are. And then they just kind of put a temporary stud in between there when they wanted to put a wall here. But look at the size of this wood. Like, these studs are 3 inches by 5 inches. Now, when you talk about, well, actually these ones here, when you talk about studs today at 2x4, a 2x4 stud is actually 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. It's not really 2 inches by 4 inches, but in the old days they actually were. So this is a 2x5, actual 2 inches across, 5 inches deep. This one's 3 inches by 5, but this hunkin' piece of wood, which is basically in the center of the house, this is 5 inches deep and 7 inches across. What a huge piece of wood and structure that they built this house on. They just don't make things like that anymore. So that's a strong house, even though there's some problems with rot in that corner. The rest of the house is really well supported, and that's pretty fun to see. So here's the corner. You can see what I've done is I've taken it back, cut out all the rotten wood, taken it back to the solid wood. So you can see up there, I've taken off part of that beam just because the last little bit of it was starting to rot. This stud there was fairly rotten, but it's pretty strong from there on up. It goes all the way up to the ceiling, so I need to support underneath that, the ceiling of the second floor. So I need to support underneath that. What I've done today is I've put just in the bottom here, you can see just this little corner. I just poured just a couple, about 3 to 4 inches of cement, just to give it a flat surface. Like what was underneath it went all the way down to the original foundation, the stone foundation. It was a bit of an uneven foundation in the corner here, and so I wanted to give myself a nice level solid surface to build the base of this wall on. And so that I just kind of mixed it up and put it in there earlier today. We're going to give it a day to dry, then we'll build up from there. But let me show you upstairs how far up we had to go to get rid of the rotten wood. So this floor is this is the corner right above the corner downstairs where the rot is. You can actually see down into the cavity that all the wood that's been taken out. But I had to come all the way up to right here to get rid of all the rot. And so When I replace this corner, I'm going to support this all the way down to the foundation or the cement that I just poured to make it solid. The house is solid. I mean, it still has these huge beams and everything. So, I mean, it's not in any danger of falling in. I mean, that wood has been rotten probably for decades. So taking it out hasn't really changed what structure was there because it wasn't holding anything up. But once we're done, it'll be strong and true and in great shape. So that's what we're working on today. Continuing the process, waiting for the cement to dry so we can build the rest of the structure and then close up the walls. So we finished the corner where there was a rotten corner beam, I guess you'd call it, corner post. But let me show you what it looks like and the work that we've done. I've got to show you what on this main floor and then a little bit upstairs, just so you can see what it's done and how this is finally it's back to being sturdy and strong and supporting the weight of that corner of this old house. So here, let me show you. All right, I'm really proud of the way this turned out. I think it's going to do great. Starting on the bottom, there is a solid sill plate at the bottom. We poured about 3 inches of cement on top of the old stones just to give us a level surface. Tie all those cornerstones together. I mean, they weren't moving, but this just means they're not going to ever move. They're just all tied together with that cement. We put a fairly thick sill plate from there down to the cement and to the concrete foundation or the rock foundation, solid wood. This corner, this is the piece that replaces the corner. It's actually 4 pieces of 2x6 sistered together. So it's pretty thick, pretty wide. I plan to only use 3 of them. You can see kind of them a little bit in there. But I had to use 4 just because the size of that post and just matching it up. And I'll show you upstairs what that looks like. Here, this beam here, it was rot right there. And so just to carry this weight, I put two beams, or kind of a 2-beam post there along with that stud that was already there. It's been there for 230 years. But yeah, so that should carry that weight as well. And then there was this one other stud here that you can see, it just lines up there. There was a true 2x4, so a little bit wider than mine. I was going to double it up, but because this is so close, I decided not necessary. And then this ties in here, and it ties in down there. And so here, so now what was once rotten, I'm glad we found it. Who knows how long it's been rotten in there. It was certainly dry. It wasn't currently wet. So whatever the problem was is an old problem, but it was a bad problem. So whatever, all this was rotten and it wasn't holding up any of the house. But let me show you the top. So it goes down, it goes all the way down to the foundation. Let me show you how far up it goes. Here we are on the 2nd floor. And the rot, we cut this corner. Look how big this piece is. It goes way back in there. We cut it off about there. So it's about, I don't know, a little bit more than a foot into the bottom of the 2nd floor. I mean, this is how thick this is. This is a full thickness of a wall. I mean, huge thickness. Like they were like 2x5s in here. And there's still that much of it left showing. So it's a really big, post. And so what I did was, because it couldn't get a single post all the way from the foundation up to the top, just because it wouldn't fit logistically, because you just couldn't Tetris it in there. There wasn't enough room to get it up in there. I had to build it in 2s, similar to the way you would build a house, where you would build the 1st floor and then the 2nd floor comes up on top of it. So on top of those 4 pieces down below, I put this top plate, and that sits right on the corners from the 4-piece corner post downstairs. And then I put about a 10.5-inch studs there, and those go back 4. So you can see they kind of match up here to the corner of the other corner plate, the old 200-and-some-year-old wood. So anyway, I don't think we have to worry about anything now as far as structure or strength in that corner. The weight is the weight of this corner, certainly is carried all the way down to the foundation, and it's strong and true. And now we can get back to the rest of the work because there's a lot of work to do. Here we go.
I got to tell you, that was a huge surprise when we found that, but I'm so glad we did. It was a lot of work, took a lot of time, extra unexpected expense, but in the end, it's much better that we found it when we did. And so that's all for this week's episode, but here's a clip from next week. I hope you enjoy this. That's a clip from last year's Pumpkin Regatta. We're going to hear a little bit more about that in next week's episode. But until then, don't forget to click on the Portrait of the Barn and become a subscriber. We'll see you next week.